I want you to imagine you're 5 years old and this new anime is taking the whole country by storm. I mean, your friends are talking about it every day at recess, the most recent episode. And then one episode comes out, 31st episode on the franchise. And Professor Oak talks about this brand new Pokemon, and it can move at the speed of light. And your 5 year old brain, who's nerdy enough to know, hey, nothing in the universe moves faster than the speed of light. That means that this Pokemon must be so fast and so strong. And in the same episode, you find out that not only is that little fast Pokemon poking out from the ground incredibly strong, it's an evolved form. That's three of them. And this very same week, you pull out your brand new Game Boy, the newest thing in tech, and you put in your game a Pokemon Blue. And you beat the second gym, and you're like, okay, and you're getting ready for the third gym, and you find that Pokemon that they talked about in the anime. And this Pokemon pulverizes the third gym because of the type advantage. I mean, ground is so much stronger than electric. And with that Pokemon, you go on to destroy everything. And it becomes your favorite Pokemon. In fact, so much so that you do your very first and maybe one of the first ever challenge runs of a Pokemon game, where you do an entire team of 6. The same 6. That's right. The same 6 of this guy. Dugtrio, who in Gen 1 was so incredibly strong and so incredibly broken that 5-year-old me fell in love. I mean, just look at these little guys. They were so scary. And like, you need to keep in mind, you need to remember Gen 1. This is what Dugtrio looked like. Like, look at that. That sprite goes tough. That goes hard. And so, over my life, I played Pokemon games periodically, and that's what I love about Pokemon is you can play it, you can put it down, you can come back to it. But lo and behold, lately I've been getting into competitive Pokemon. And I was like, well, my fave, right? It was so good. It was so strong, right? It must have all of these wonderful results. I mean, and so I'm clicking, clacking, and I'm looking online, and I'm looking at all of Dugtrio's competitive history. I mean, it's got to be one of the strongest ones ever, right? Oh, I mean, is that it? Like, the only placement ever for a official Pokemon tournament. 241st. I mean, okay, maybe Rajan Ball's the problem, right? Whoever Rajan Ball is, he's one of the best players of all time. One of the best players, really strong. And if you look in his recent competitive history, 241 with Dugtrio is by far the worst. In fact, it's double the worst, almost double the worst. Like, we're talking about a man who's won, who's top cut, who's top 8, who's done all of it. And none of it matters because Dugtrio now sucks. But how do we get from the speed of light to destroying everything to where we are now? I'm sorry, buddy. They say that you need a win with your favorites. But what do you do when your favorites suck? Now, why was Dugtrio so good to begin with? Now, Gen 1, Dugtrio is a monster, and truly was. I wasn't just having an hallucinogenic memory and like things were put in my brain by the algorithms. No, Gen 1 Dugtrio was a menace because back then, Dugtrio's speed stat of 120 and its attack of 100 were really respectable. In fact, 120 is incredibly fast and still fast-ish today, even by modern standards, but it was incredibly fast. In Gen 1, there was no physical special split, and so ground that helped benefit the ground and rock moves that Dugtrio was using. And also, a big factor for Dugtrio being so strong was that in Generation 1, there were no items, there were no abilities, and there was also the fact that critical hits were determined by a Pokemon speed stat, meaning when you're fast, like Dugtrio was, maybe not the speed of light fast, as Professor Oak said. Liar. Professor Oak's a liar, and I hate him for it. How can something be the speed of light and then there's faster Pokemon and that make sense, Professor Oak? Anyway, This is not about my hatred for Professor Oak and his lying ways and stealing my mom from my father. It's that Dugtrio just hasn't really kept up with the times. But Dugtrio's reign in the sun was not just Generation 1. In fact, Dugtrio was really good in a follow-up generations, especially in singles battles. Now, Dugtrio in singles battles is really strong because it's fast and can hit pretty strong with what was then a very strong attack stat and a really good typing. Ground hits a lot of really important Pokemon like fire types, electric types for super effective damage. Poison types, Gengar Gen 1 was a menace, but Dugtrio said, bye bye, Gengar. And that's what made Dugtrio so impressive. And then eventually they rolled out abilities. And you would think, oh, that means that Dugtrio must have gotten bad abilities, right? That's why it's no longer good. But no, Dugtrio actually got 3 pretty usable abilities. It got Sand Veil, which helps you dodge moves in Sandstorm. Keep in mind, this by Generation 2-3, we got Tyranitar putting sand out, so there's who's really strong Pokemon. So you can have sand strategies be based around Dugtrio. And you also had Sand Force, which boosts those same attacks by 1.3 in Sandstorm. So you have a way to boost or make Dugtrio more evasive. But that doesn't include Dugtrio's best ability, Arena Trap. Arena Trap is an ability that keeps Pokemon trapped on the field. So I want you to imagine it's Gen 4, you send out your Heatran, and I go, sucks to suck, buddy. Here's a 4-time super effective Earthquake to the face. You can't switch out. And as a result, Dugtrio actually got banned in some competitive formats. But not because he was so good that he was broken. It was because that the ability created these really not fun strategies to play against. See, in VGC or even in singles, there are these strategies called Saul strategies, where you try to basically outlast your opponent. You try to win the war of attrition. And Dugtrio's Arena Trap was a really strong opportunity to do that, right? You lower Pokemon stats, doesn't matter. Dugtrio can keep them there, right? You have on the other side, you have a Toxapex trying to do poison. That doesn't matter. I'm going to hit it really strong. But because of this, it ended up getting banned. And as a result, Dugtrio kind of lost a little bit of its feistiness. But as time went on, Dugtrio went from a bannable Pokemon to kind of a joke. And I'm pretty sure Game Freak or Pokemon, whoever makes the Pokemons, they realized that there was an issue. And they gave Dugtrio one of the first different evolutionary types, right? A different opportunity worth a low in Dugtrio. Now, it wasn't really common for Pokemon back then. It's more common now to create these alternative types of Pokemon, these alternative versions. And so when I found out when Sun and Moon came out, and I kind of was getting back into Pokemon back then, that they came out with a new version of Dugtrio, low in Dugtrio, and I was like, oh, this Pokemon's gonna kick so much butt. What? I mean, the hair, flowing, beautiful, like put it in a commercial. But this is a Pokemon? My favorite Pokemon, and you put 3 wigs on it and called it a day? Well, that's certainly, that must make it good, right? Well, unfortunately, Dugtrio was given opportunity to be successful. It was given a new typing, ground and steel, which is in many ways really good. Steel resists, other big things like fairy and dragon, which had become, much more prevalent in later generations because, fairy was not originally there. And so all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what? This must be good, right? The hair, right? It's got a cool new ability where you tingling hairs where you hit it and it slows you down, right? But here's the problem with Alolan Dugtrio in all the versions of Dugtrio. Its HP stat. Its HP stat is 35. There are little baby Pokemon that got bigger, better HP stats than that. And that's what makes Dugtrio kind of difficult, is some of its abilities, like Alolan Dugtrio's tingling hair ability or Arena Trap, work really well with stall, slow strategies. But Dugtrio isn't going to live any of those strategies. I mean, you sneeze too hard, and this guy dies. It doesn't matter. You could have a move that is not very effective, but with a 35 special defense and a 35 HP stat, it's not living. What also has made things more difficult for my bestie, my homie, my little Dougie, as I like to call him. He when I was young, when I was 5, he taught me how to Dougie. But what made Dugtrio really difficult to deal with, or as a player, is that it has been outclassed in so many ways. You have better ground type Pokemon, you have that do more damage, that are bulkier. You have other Pokemon that can outspeed and specifically target it. Other Pokemon have gotten better moves. So while you might like Earthquake, a lot of things have Earthquake. Sure, you might like setting Toxic or Spikes, but other Pokemon can do these same things if you're in a singles format. And later generations, we saw doubles battles become more popular. The trio kind of sucks in doubles battles. Yes, you can do the arena trip strategy, but again, it doesn't live very long. And its best move, Earthquake, hits its own partner. And so you have to think about, how do I use this Pokemon? And probably the best way to use it is with a Focus Sash, because it's so frail. You might as well survive an extra hit. But the problem is, Focus Sash is something you want to use on maybe a support Pokemon that can get something done. Or if you're going to use it on a glass cannon, you want something that's more cannon and less glass. And that's the problem with Dugtrio, is ultimately its HP stat is so fundamentally problematic. You can't do much with it. Like, you can't. My look what they've done to my boy. Look what they've massacred my boy. And Game Freak, I think, realized this. And so they were like, you know what? Low Dugtrio, even though it's got such beautiful. I wish my hair looked like this. Even though it had such beautiful hair, it's got all these things that maybe what we need is a different evolution. And so Pokemon start coming out with these things called convergent evolutions, which the science started me. I mean, I love the speed of light, loves the concept, right? Different animals in different areas tend to develop similar ways of being built because of the necessities of the environment around them, right? And so they came out with a new Pokemon, Trio. And I thought, oh, a convergent evolution, it's going to be so good, right? It's going to be so good that it's going to... What is this? Look at this. What is this little... I mean, I think he's cute. He's a silly little guy. But again, it's a terrible Pokemon with a 35 HP stat. And its abilities rattled and gooey, again, want you to have a good HP stat so you can stall, you can slow things down, you can build up momentum. In Sandvale, sure, you can maybe hide from some evasive Pokemon, but if you're going to use Sandvale, you might as well use Garchomp or something else. And in fact, what's so depressing about Wugtrio is they gave Wugtrio a signature ability. This is so sad. So it gets its ability Triple Dive, right? Like Triple Dive, right? It hits three times, like Surging Strikes from Urshifu. But it's not 100% accurate. Like, you give Urshifu a 3-hit strike move that always critical hits is 100% accurate and goes through Protect. But this little guy can't even get a 100% accurate move to do that. Also, why would you give this Pokemon Final Gambit? Like, Final Gambit is a move that you do damage based off of your HP stat. It's got one of the worst HP stats in the game. In fact, Wugtrio is so bad that Wolfe Glicke, in his video of worst water type Pokemon, labeled it number 1. Right? It was worse than Lovedisk. It was worse than Corsola. Wugtrio. And so, over 20 years later, this Pokemon that was once the bedrock of my competitive team in Gen 1 is now kind of terrible. And they tell you to win with your favorites, but it's hard when your favorite Pokemon kind of sucks now. And I get it, the heart of the cards, love your buddy, and all of that stuff. And sure, I could win with my favorites, but it'd be nice if my favorites didn't suck. Is that too much to ask? Why you gotta suck now, Dugtrio? And here's the reality: is that Dugtrio has just been power crept. Right? There have been more flying types, more abilities that block ground moves. You have Earth Eater. You have items such as Air Balloon. You have these ways to avoid Dugtrio. You have a Focus Sash to deal with its damage. And basically, everything over time that has happened in Pokemon has indirectly hurt Dugtrio and no longer made it an effective Pokemon, even though it has good abilities. It has some good stats. But overall, the combination of everything means that Dugtrio is kind of lost to the sands of time. Does does that mean I'm an old relic? Does that mean I'm fading? I mean, I'm in my 30s and I'm making a video about Pokemon and I'm talking about why my favorite Pokemon sucks. I mean everything's fine, right? We're not having a midlife crisis. Everything's good. I mean everything's fine.